Hello and welcome to your next episode. In this episode, I want to dive a little deep on the label shame. Now, I say label, I mean, is it an emotion? Is it a feeling? What is it and what kind of underpins it? And all too often, we are shamed for how we turn up in life, whether that is if you're professional and you're shamed for wanting more, for wanting that promotion, or if you're a parent or caregiver, you're shamed for wanting to do well in a career, but then also raise children, families. And it can be that kind of deep-seated pressure that we put ourselves under. And I think when I explore shame for myself, that's turned up in various different ways. And it's only recently where I've started to kind of unpick beneath it and really kind of be quite tenacious and no longer quiet about what I desire and what I want. And in me doing that, I feel like I'm dispelling shame that can be attached with that. I know that I've had, I say it was a conversation, but it wasn't a conversation. Somebody thought that someone mentioned that I was showing off. And I can't think what it was related to now. And I was like, I'm not going to be shamed for wanting more, for desiring more, because that's part of my desire. It's my wish, it's my want, it's what I want to achieve, or it's what I want to experience. Why would it be okay to kind of like almost put someone's fire out because of how it looks to other people? Now, you know, the beauty of social media, people post their highlighted reels, they post their edited photos, if that's your thing, to create a persona in some respects. But is it creating a persona, or is it manifesting a desired outcome? To others, it could seem like, oh, they're showing off, they're here, you know, they're in a spa somewhere, or they're having afternoon tea in this plush restaurant, and, you know, oh, that, you know, they're showing off because they're there. But is it showing off, or is it trying to manifest a life that you wish to lead? Or is it, you know, part of your, you know, is it a treat for yourself, or is it something that you wish to have more of? And I think when I've gone on holiday, I've been twice to the UAE, and it is very plush. I say plush, but when you go, you automatically have this kind of sense of wealth. Let's put it like that. No matter if you've scrimped and saved to get there, you know, you're getting on the plane, and even on the plane, it feels quite exclusive. Not quite as exclusive as business class or even premium economy. You're still in economy, but it feels quite plush. When you arrive at Dubai airport, it's like, wow, everything's so big and so bright, and wow, spaciousness is probably the best way of putting it. And it's so quiet as well, because they don't have announcements in Dubai airport. It's all very quiet. So you go in there, but when you open yourself up to these different experiences, it kind of opens up the possibilities as well. Instead of thinking small, it can expand your perception of what life could be like. So surely that has to be a benefit. Surely we want to encourage people to expand and achieve all their possibilities, because we're born with unlimitless potential. The only thing that limits us and what we can achieve a lot of the time is our preconceived ideas, our patterns of behavior, the restrictions of our environment. If we're kind of nurtured and encouraged and fed the right things, whether that's socially, emotionally, internally, we can expand that capacity. And I want more of that. Why wouldn't you want more of that? To not want more of that sounds alien to me in some respects, because we can expand and we can grow. And part of that is experiencing different things. I know when I went to Rome a few years ago, me and my daughter were walking around the streets, and the Italians, when they walk around, they kind of float. They look so well turned out. They look so glamorous. Even, I mean, the men wear like suits and ties and the heat is blistering. But they look so well put together that they kind of like breeze in and out. And sometimes that can make you feel a little intimidated when you're sweating like a pig in your t-shirt dress and your trainers, and these people are well turned out. And I think sometimes when we do dress for an occasion, now it doesn't have to be anything a big occasion, when we kind of get ourselves prepared for something, so we do our hair, we put on a nice outfit, we automatically start carrying ourselves differently. And that can make a big difference about how we turn up as well, because of how we're feeling. You know, thinking, oh yeah. And I'm not saying it has to be about being vain and looking in the mirror thinking, oh yeah, look at me, I'm looking good today. I don't mean like that. I mean, you just start to feel it. And when you kind of feel it on the inside, it radiates on the outside, and you're just like, yes. Or even that could be as simple as getting up in the morning and everything's worked out quite well. You know, you think, okay, I sailed through every green light at the traffic lights. My journey was calm. I got to work 15 minutes early. Oh, this day is good. It could be little things like that that kind of like turn the tide of events of how we feel, and that then impacts on how we then turn up with other people as well, which then hopefully kind of even inspires other people. I always think sometimes when you're going out for a walk, and I've done it sometimes in the morning when I've gone out and I'm like, right, I'm going to say hello to everybody, no matter if they're making eye contact or not. I'm going to say hello and greet them good morning. Thinking, okay, just like, and the genuine hellos or the genuine morning, because that might give them a little spring in their step. They might just think, what on earth is she going on about? But that's fine. That's for them, and this is about me. So even those little steps that we can take about how we can turn up for ourselves, expand into that space, and just kind of peel away the judgment that is attached to shame. Because all too often that's kind of like almost like a stick to prod people with, to bring them down a peg or two. They're getting too big for their boots. Who do they think they are? Now, whether people think that about me, possibly they do. Some people may even say that to you, which I think is really, really rude. But that's more to do with their perception. And as I say, there's a lot of unhealed people in the world. Now, it's not about sitting in judgment to that, but that's more their problem. And as I've said, I try to categorize things as either my problem that I can change, that I can work on, that I can reflect on, or that sounds like a you problem. You've got a problem with how you feel I'm turning up. You've got a problem with how that perceives, or how you're internalizing someone's actions. That's your problem. I've only got control about how I turn up, things that directly that I'm responsible for. And that can be a bit uncomfortable sometimes, kind of that, like, okay, well, that's your problem, you know, that's for you to figure out, or you to come to terms with. And this is my shit that I've got to deal with, and that's your shit you've got to deal with. Just to try and give me some space and some kind of distance or space so I can reflect and think, okay, I'm not going to take that personally that you've said that, because ultimately I know my intentions behind it weren't for that reason. But if that's what you want to believe, or that's makes it easy for you to kind of like not even accept to come to terms with, but if that makes it kind of like, if that's what you want to focus on rather than the positives that you could get from it, then that's your problem, not mine. And I think as well, again, it's about that kind of imposing limitations on you, and that perhaps fear that, okay, well, if they want that or they're achieving that, why can't I have that? You know, and all too often, people will impose their opinion on you, that unsolicited advice or unsolicited opinion. And like, I didn't ask you what you thought of that. I didn't ask you for your opinion. You think it's okay to impart that on me. And I feel as though, I mean, I always say I'm by no means perfect, but I am trying to catch some of those thoughts, or before they come out of my mouth, trying not to offer solutions to people unless they've asked me my advice. You know, asking people, so how do you feel about that? How are you doing? Is there anything else that you could be doing? So they can try to come up with their solutions, or to their problems that they may be sharing. All too often we kind of jump in with solutions, or trying to perhaps, we can still validate people's experiences and validate their emotions without actually trying to jump in and offer something. And I think in conversations we do that anyway, don't we? Like if someone's sharing something that's quite upsetting, we'll almost try to validate their experience by offering one of our shared experiences that is similar. But that's our experience, it's not their experience. So sometimes that can be quite invalidating, and it's difficult. And a lot of the times I kind of get caught up in conversations, and I'm like, you just need to be genuine. But by being genuine, sometimes you're not being a good empathetic listener, and sometimes we just need to shut up and let people talk. Anyway, I digress, because we're talking about shame. So something that I haven't shared over the years, and something that I feel as though perhaps is quite private, and it's not necessarily something that people will feel comfortable about. And I will just share it because I'm owning my shite these days. So when I was, now I can't remember how old I was. I must have been in my early 20s. Let's frame it like that, because I can't remember my particular age. Don't know if that's a good thing or not. I had a termination. I'd basically had a relationship that had ended, and I'd been single for about 6 months or so. And I then got back with an ex, just the one occasion. And as a result of that one occasion, I unexpectedly got pregnant. We'll say unexpectedly. We know how babies are made. So I always remember it was a bank holiday. I had intended to go and get the morning after pill, but then I got confused about the days and thought that by the time it comes around to the Tuesday, it would be too late to have it. So I taught myself out of going because I just thought it wouldn't be applicable because it was longer than 72 hours after. I thought in my head, I didn't know, but I didn't go to check either. So I coasted through the next few weeks thinking, oh, something doesn't feel right, something don't feel right, something don't feel right. And then to my not so shock, because obviously, like I say, we know how babies are made. Yeah, so I discovered that I was pregnant. So then it wasn't right. It was the situation with that ex. There was no way that I wanted to have another child with him. And that's having a child or having two children under the age of 2 was not on my radar. So I kind of sat with it and juggled with it and thinking, this isn't right. So I was going this kind of back and forth, not wanting to, I don't know, it was just a difficult one. And I think when I look back, I know that I did it for the right reasons. Absolutely, because there was no way I was emotionally ready for another child, that I was in a financial situation to have another child and raise the child as a single parent, because there was no way that I was getting back with my ex. And I thought, I can't do this on my own. Absolutely no way could I do it on my own. And I knew that I would be on my own. So I took the decision right up until the point where to have an early termination. I was right on the cusp, because I was going back and forth. Didn't know. I couldn't make a decision. So I was back and forth. I was like, no, this is not right. I can't do it. So I had the conversation with the GP. And then I was referred. I took myself off to the hospital on my own. They all say you should go with someone, but I took myself off to the hospital on my own and went through it all by myself. Now, part of the shame that's attached to that is I actually told the father that I had a miscarriage, because I thought that was a easier way of framing it, to keep people off my back, to alleviate myself of that shame that's attached to it, and get on with life afterwards. So I think I even went back to work in the afternoon. I went in on a Saturday morning and I think I was back at work in the afternoon, just to carry on and, yeah, just to get on with life. Now, I say shame around that. It's not so much shame, because I think it was my body, it was my choice. I made the decision that was right for me and my family and how I could be a parent in the future. That decision was very much right for me. So when I say shame attached to it, it's more so shame that is attached to women who have terminations. And I think that is the biggest hurdle that women often find themselves in, and the shame of being judged, labeled by others. So for myself, I don't feel shame for that. I feel the pressure from society and how that manifests and keeps us small from speaking about it. Now, when I've spoken about women's rights to choose and things like that, I've always been very vocal about it, but I've never really shared the fact that I've actually had a termination myself, because it's private, because it's no one else's business but mine. But I just feel it's something that needs to be raised, because we all have different ways that we have been shamed. And I think whether that is food, we can be shamed around food and the food that we eat, or if we overeat and we're like, oh, I really shouldn't be doing that, and I feel bad for doing that. And we're wrestling with these things, and some of it could be internalized, but it could also be the pressure that we've had from other people making us feel shamed for our decisions, for the shames, feeling shamed for the relationships that we've chosen, feeling shamed for the decisions that we've made, feeling shamed for not upholding your boundaries. We're shamed all the time. And I think we need to turn the tide on it. And I think we need to lay our stake in the ground and say, this is no more. I'm not having this. So part of my growth is talking about things that have kept me small over the years, that have stopped me from speaking up, that have stopped me from my growth and my expansion. I'm almost 50. Now I say almost, I'm not almost, I'm a couple of years, 18 months off or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm approaching my 50th decade on this planet. And I am intending that the next 10, 20, 30 years, if I'm lucky, are going to be me put my fingers up to the world and say, you know what? This is me. This is who I am always meant to be. This is who I am, and this is where I am going. So if I want to live my fully expanded life, and that my light is going to continue shining so bright, I'm going to keep on turning it up. I'd seen something earlier, and it was like saying about, okay, I'm not going to grow old gracefully in some respects. Go off into the sunset like a little muted version. Hell no. I am going to be bold, be brave, be courageous, because ultimately I'm leaving a legacy behind me, a legacy of truth, a legacy of belief, a legacy that you can do whatever you want in spite of the limits that other people place on you, because we are unlimitless. We have potential, and your future is yours to create.